These aircraft ruled the skies, both in Europe and the Pacific.
I'll probably a lot more Monday afternoon.
The sounds we get to hear today like this.
Call somewhere around 2 or 3 Monday afternoon.
Both V12 liquid-cooled engines, as we see another aircraft. The liquid-cooled engines, V12, compared to the aircraft taking off right now with an R2800, 2,000 horsepower radial piston engine, the sound of ground on the Corsair. Then, from North American Aviation, their first twin-engine aircraft with 2 Wright 1,700 horsepower radial piston engines. The sound you'll only hear at air shows.
Glad to hear it. All right, well, I'll give you a call Monday afternoon. I'll get together, try to get together.
And representing the United States Navy from Long Island, New York, the Grumman Iron Works, maker of so many incredibly important naval aircraft, 1,900 horsepower radial piston engine on the TBM Avenger.
High and overhead, our fighter flight consisting in the lead, the P-51 Mustang, on the right wing, the P-40 Warhawk, and on the left wing, the P-63 King Cobra. P during that time stood for pursuit fighter. It wasn't until about 1947, 1948 that they transitioned that into what we would know as an F designation for fighter.
B remained bomber, C for cargo, A for attack. When, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States was being pounded at every turn in the Pacific, we needed a morale boost. And Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, according to one book that I read, sat in a hotel room at a restaurant and scribbled out on the tablecloth.
And those 2 pieces of hardware were that of the North American B-25 Mitchell bomber, operated by the United States Army Air Corps, and from the United States Navy, the USS Hornet aircraft carrier. The B-25, never designed to take off from an aircraft carrier, but those men signed up for a top secret mission where they ended up going down to Eglin Field down in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, to learn and train to take off B-25s at a very short distance.
67 feet.
16 B-25s in command, 1 mission, payback for Pearl Harbor. The original plan to sail within 300 miles of Japan and launch the raid, but the task force was spotted 650 miles out, and the decision was made to launch early, knowing that the crew might not have enough fuel after bombing Japan to reach their designated refueling airfields in China. Targets near Tokyo, Yokohama, Kobe, Nagoya, and Osaka were bombed.
Each of the aircraft carried 4 500-pound bombs. They would do little strategic damage, but the ultimate gain on this would be the surprise attack that could take place. Those aircraft, once they all 16 successfully launched from the deck of the Hornet on the morning of April 18th, 1942, just 4 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, had these crews flying a victory that was.
After that took place, the headlines across America boldly celebrated American bombers hit Tokyo. There was a massive morale boost to the American public and the military, and Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle was promoted to Brigadier General and awarded the Medal of Honor, and all of those raiders as part of that mission given the Distinguished Flying Cross.
Since that time, all the members of the Doolittle raid, all 80 of them had passed on. One of the members, the navigator of the aircraft, and one other navigator knew the target. They had
raid, and it was the B-25 Mitchell that we see in front of us right now that accomplished that first American airstrike on mainland Japan. As we continue to watch our warbirds work their way around, I want you to take a look to the left, because inbound now is the Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bomber, an aircraft that rolled off the production line prior to Pearl Harbor in August of 1941. After the invasion of Pearl Harbor from the Imperial Japanese Navy, the TBM was given the name Avenger in response. It was an aircraft designed as a solution to the U.S. Navy when they were looking to replace their Douglas Devastators. German Iron Works, as they went on to be known, were meant to build about 280 of those aircraft, but after Pearl Harbor craft back in 1944, at the time he was only about 20 years old, and he went on a mission to cut off Japanese lines of communications. And Bush Sr. took enemy fire over a Japanese island. His target was a radio tower, but his Avenger was crippled due to anti-aircraft guns below. He was able to parachute to safety, but only after escaping enemy Japanese vessels nearby with the help of other American aircraft flying overhead.
4 hours he rested in and waited in his life raft. He was picked up by a rescue submarine, but he did become our 41st president of the United States. The B-25 Mitchell bomber now landing overhead, the P-51 Mustang. Look carefully at the bottom of the aircraft as it goes by. You will see the radiator scoop. The P-51 had a V-12 liquid-cooled engine. The initial Mustang was developed not for the United States Army Air Force, but actually for the Royal Air Force in Great Britain, who prior to America's entry into World War II was already at war with Germany and the Axis powers. 1940, from the summer to the early fall of that year, just about 3 months before America was attacked at Pearl Harbor, that Battle of Britain in the skies over the United Kingdom was going on at a fever pitch. The Supermarine Spitfires, the Hawker Hurricanes of the Royal Air Force, were fighting for their lives along with an American aircraft known as the P-40 Warhawk, which is in formation with us today. But when Curtiss couldn't keep up with the demand, the Royal Air Force and the British Purchasing Commission approached the president of North American Aviation, Dutch Kindleberger, and said, "We need you to build P-40 Warhawks under license." But Dutch Kindleberger said,
"We're going to build you a new airplane." And it was the P-51 Mustang that was the result of that effort. We continue to watch out in front of us, directly at Show Center, the Bell P-63 King Cobra, an aircraft that is got its start at the break of World War II, top speed of about 410 miles an hour, and ultimately it outpaced that of the P-40. It was outfitted with twin 12.7 millimeter 50 caliber machine guns on the upper engine cowling, and it even featured a single 37 millimeter cannon and could carry 1,500 pounds of air-to-ground munitions. The King Cobra was successful as an air-to-ground platform, but it lacked the maneuverability to take on some of the top enemy fighters of the time, including those Focke-Wulf FW-190s and Messerschmitt Bf-109s.
the Mustang again would get them the anti-aircraft fire, and many bombers lost their lives. But coming home, if they made it back, even if they were stragglers, the Mustangs were there to escort.
Yes, indeed. We're going to watch from our right as the P-40, today flown by Doug Rosendahl from Mason City, Iowa, goes by. Following that, the P-63 King Cobra.
Mustang was developed and first flown in 1940, as was this aircraft going by Show Center right now. Built by Chance Gaunt for speed only. It was the first single-engine fighter to exceed 400 miles per hour in level flight. It was designed to be operated from U.S. Navy aircraft carriers. But there was a problem. The huge motor on the front turned a huge propeller that had a diameter of over 13 feet 6 inches. And the problem was, if they were to land on the deck of a carrier, they would have to have a very strong and long landing gear to prevent that propeller from striking the decks of the carrier. So what did they do? They took advantage of a very interesting principle by extending the wing down at 90 degrees from the fuselage and extending a light enough and strong enough land.
Army Air Corps.
I'll be back.
Any young man between the ages of 17 and 26 can enlist in the Army as an aviation cadet for training as a pilot, navigator, or bombardier. Here's a chance to get a ringside seat, or better still, a bird's eye view of the big fight. A chance to help the Army Air Forces throw a punch that'll knock Hitler and Tojo bow-legged. If you are 17 years old, you can join the Air Corps Enlisted Reserve and will be called for actual training soon after your 18th birthday. Those 18 or over can go into training immediately. Inquire at the box office on your way out of this theater for complete information. Or visit number 607 Custom House, Philadelphia.
That's an order. So noise of thunder.
18,600 Mustangs were built, as I mentioned earlier, not for the United States, but for Great Britain's Air Force. But it became one of the most important fighters of all time, ranking in the top 10 on just about everybody's list. 400 plus miles per hour, 6 50 caliber machine guns, and that liquid-cooled Rolls-Royce engine called the Merlin. Now, when the Merlins were being built for the Royal Air Force, they were being built by craftsmen building them one at a time. They couldn't build them fast enough. So it was the American mass production capability refined and turned into an art form by Henry Ford that ended up being engines produced by the Packard Motor Car Company of Detroit, Michigan. They built Merlin engines to the tune of 56,000.
We talked earlier about the Mustang's role as an escort fighter, reducing those Allied bomber losses in Europe by over 75%. And it earned the Mustang the nickname Little Friend. We're going to watch now. High and to our left as Ray Fowler repositions Old Crow, an aircraft in tribute and painted of that of Triple Ace Bud Anderson.
Bud Anderson is over 100 years old now and still sharp, still living in California. He was, as you say, a triple ace. To become an ace, you have to have 5 aerial victories. He got 16, and when I got to talk to him once years ago, he said, I said, what gave you the nerve to go up against those fighters and be outnumbered over Europe with the Focke-Wulfs FW-190s and the Messerschmitt BF-109s? He said, we always thought it was going to be somebody else who got killed. They just went for it. They flew with abandon to protect our bombers, to stop the march of the Axis powers that wanted to take over this entire world.
Ray Fowler in once again from our right. Let's take a look and a listen to the mighty Mustang.
What was interesting about that gutter and that cooling was that the hot air coming out of the back also had some effect on the performance, right?
It did, and that clean air coming out of the back, it was known as the Meriden effect, and what that did was there was a port at the rear of that